Amazing. Well, hello and welcome to today's webinar, How to Set the Foundation for Advisory Success with Hubdoc and Futrli. I think we've been doing these webinars weekly for many months now, and I just like to continually repeat, thank you so much for taking part of your day to join us, engage with us, most of all around content that we hope is helpful. We've just had kind of an unbelievable response and turnout to a lot of these. So first and foremost, just thank you so very much for joining us today, especially given the holidays are just around the corner. Now, just to introduce today's speakers, I'm Matt Bunston. I'm the country manager of Australia for Hubdoc, and we're really pleased to be joined today by Stuart Hunter, who is the head of sales of Australia New Zealand at Futrli. Thanks for coming, Stuart.
Thank you for having me, and again, likewise, thank you for everybody taking your time out today, I guess, to hear how we can help potentially set the foundations for you guys to move into that advisory space, which is, of course, the hot topic in the industry at the minute.
Completely. So we were just mentioning a bit ago, it's kind of one of the first pieces of content that Hubdoc and Futrli have come forward with, but we sort of feel like there's some good synergies between the stories that we both tell as companies, even though we sort of approach it at different ends of the client workflow. So we're going to get into a lot of that on today's webinar, but yeah, we're really excited to do this with Futrli today, and just thanks again. Okay, so we're just going to do some housekeeping for today's webinar. We'll send you the recording as always, so if there is someone who might see value in watching this, it's going to end up in your inbox, so we can always forward it on to them afterwards. The GoToWebinar panel, for some it can be relatively tricky, others it might not be, but just so you know, there is a question section. So in the question section, you can actually ask us questions directly. Now, we might not get to them as soon as you ask them, but just so you know, we will be answering them during the question and answer session closer to the end of the webinar. So please just be patient if we don't get to your question immediately, and we actually have a moderator who's on the call that's going to be helping us make our way through there. But certainly, we are doing this webinar for your benefit. Ideally, we are trying to give you more information on how Hubdoc and Futrli can really set this foundation in terms of handling core practices, so you can deliver advisory services. But the questions are basically how you get more value out of today's conversation. Chances are someone's asked it before, it's popping up into your head. And finally, it's something that obviously we have to remind ourselves to do. It is close any unnecessary windows. Even if you have your cell phone, just turn it over as I'll do now, so I'm not getting notifications. Just try to give us 45 minutes of your time this afternoon and really engage. It's going to help improve your overall webinar experience. A bit of a tip, and I don't know if anyone has ever done this before, but if you're on a Mac and if you click Alt and click this top right button, it's actually going to mute all your notifications on your computer. So a little bit of fun fact, you can momentarily do that. Awesome. So today we'll be discussing from a content perspective, how to automate document collection and data entry with Hubdoc. Basically going through a bit of nuts and bolts on what Hubdoc does. We're also going to be running through a brief demo of the solution, but basically the idea behind Hubdoc is the data pipe in of clean, accurate data from a source document standpoint. We'll then be transitioning into how to efficiently manage reporting and forecasting with Futrli. Now, you can start to get a picture of how our products really work together, because once you get clean, accurate, immediate data, you can then do reporting and forecasting much more accurately and in a much more timely manner. And so that kind of leads into the final topic in capturing real-time data to set the foundation for advisory success. So to kick off the topic, we'll hand it over to Stu for this next slide.
Thank you. Now, I just need to let everybody aware, it does appear that I'm having some internet issues, so if I do drop out, I do apologise. I missed a little bit of what Matt was saying there. But you're absolutely right. The two products products combined with accountancy software at either end of that process is how you can really start to gear yourself up to be giving your clients kind of advisory style relationships. But before we do dive into the products and the live demos, I think it's important to actually discuss the definition of advisory, because it's been talked about for quite a long time in the space now, and there is still some inconsistencies across the globe, not just here domestically in Australia and New Zealand. And when we think about advisory, I think it can be split into two different pots. One would be performance or simple advisory, which might include offering your clients some software implementation advice. It could be other app advisory about things you might be using in your practice. It could be mentoring of a startup company. So just really basic information or advice that you can give your clients timely. Or the more complex side of advisory would be the more strategic stuff, which includes the succession plannings. Maybe you're looking to develop a VCFO style service offering to your clients where you're able to access their data in real time. It could also be stuff around performance, HR, or any of the more complex kind of questions that your clients may come up with. Now, that I think is I guess how we would kind of identify and categorize the different types. But before you can kind of start to do that for your clients, it's important to have really clear and really efficient foundations within the practice to make sure that your data, your workflows are coming in accurately and timely, so that the information you are then able to talk to your client about is accurate and it's integral. Now, there's kind of two steps to this process, we believe. In that first, automation and embracing the technology that is available to us all now is something that has to be done as a step number one to make sure your workflows and your efficiencies are as quick and as reliable as possible. That then gives you the ability to access the data as often as you need to, giving your clients access to key information, which they can then make better decisions with. And I think that's the two areas that me and Matt are going to walk you through today when we jump into the products. And that leaves me hand back over to Matt to take you through a walkthrough of Hubdoc, and then I will follow shortly with all things Futrli.
How long was I mute for? Not too long. Awesome. So what I was touching on this slide, if we rewind one bit, is just as Stu was mentioning, there is a laundry list of advisory services from simple to complex. A lot of them vary depending on types of clients that you service, your expertise in the industries that you've worked with, or that in things that you've studied, your desire to really learn and understand and engage with technology. We're not really trying to get into how and to execute on those advisory services. So what we're trying to talk about today is how to set this foundation of automating these kind of central tasks and leveraging products like Hubdoc and then Futrli to make that sort of advisory service a much more simple and kind of scalable addition to your practice. Perfect. So jumping into Hubdoc here, we're going to talk about our platform first. So Hubdoc, as many of you know, is a bookkeeping automation tool that, when integrated with accounting platforms, makes bookkeeping centralized, paperless, and automated. We do specialize in document collection, document filing, and data entry, right? These are tasks that have been long associated with, bookkeeping. They're really administrative tasks in their nature that are time consuming. And our idea is, if you can automate that core, administrative tasks, then not only are you able to spend more time switching to advisory services, but using platforms like us, as you'll see in a moment here, you actually get real-time and accurate data that then directly corresponds with what Futrli is trying to accomplish. Now, taking a bit of a historical look, historically bookkeeping has been manual. Obviously, document collection and data entry. These pictures are definitely designed to be confusing and all over the map. Decentralized, you might be using email, cloud storage. There might still be a shoebox full of receipts, right? Even if you're using a processing platform, you might have statements and documents stored in different places. And so it certainly is, it's nothing is really centralized, and centralized becomes easy to find and kind of repeatable for anyone in your practice. And finally, and perhaps very related to manual and decentralized, is very friction filled, right? Even from these administrative touch points you're having with your client, that's friction. Not being able to find a document at month, quarter, or year end when you need access to that document is by its nature a friction that is preventing you from actually, quickly and accurately doing your job. Now, it's estimated that 30% of advisors' time is just spent in doing a lot of these administrative tasks like document collection and data entry. It is very paper-based, meaning that 25% of certain firms, I'm not saying everyone, but certain firms' office space can be spent with paper files, like literally those big old filing cabinets with accordion files in them that we all hate, that we've all had to sift through at some point in our life. And finally, 60 days out of date. The average general ledger is 60 days out of date. Now that kind of statistic is quite surprising given a world where we do have bank feeds, we do have immediate access to data. That means that they're not actually being leveraged as they should be, right? We're still using a rear view mirror approach to this whole bank rec and bookkeeping process, right? So this real-time access to data is not actually being used, and therefore not able to, provide these advisory and forecasting services that kind of a product like Futrli does so well. So with Hubdoc, just to give you a brief overview of what we do before jumping into the product, either a transaction takes place, something is bought at a payment terminal or an invoice is processed, and or a document is created. It could be a leasehold agreement, it could be a statement, it could be a report or contract. Now with Hubdoc, there's a variety of ways of getting documents into our solution. There's probably upwards of 4 main ways. There's an email in functionality. There is a scan and upload. So we have Fujitsu scanners. You might have been on the webinar last week where we announced the launch of ScanSnap Cloud. You can scan documents directly to Hubdoc. And finally, you can actually use a mobile app to snap pictures of documents. Now, all of this is designed at the document intake part, where the client's able to get you documents in real time, is then going to allow you to act quicker on those documents. It's not a month or quarter end job. It's an ongoing, maintenance, and it's far easier, but then you're actually able to have real-time, up-to-date, accurate data to give source documents backing up this data on the bank feed. I'll show you what I mean by that in a few moments here. Now, something that's pretty particularly unique to Hubdoc since our inception is in the auto-fetching of documents. So not only are we fetching like telco and utility bills, software vendor invoices, and things like that are, payables related to line items on my bank feed, but I think something that has been core to the value that Hubdoc has driven since our inception is getting bank and credit card statements. But what we've found is that even in this day and age, advisors are still looking for that bank statement to confirm what on the bank feed is right. If it's up to date and accurate, right? You want to confirm closing balances. But at the end of the day, no 2 bank feeds are made the same. I hear this again and again. And that bank statement is really just this really core documentation that does allow you to be accurate, but also really efficient when your time is most valuable. And clearly that's in, tax or BAS lodgement season, right? You're trying to chase up your clients and do all these things, and just getting that document automatically is going to make you more efficient. Now, moving into Hubdoc, once these documents and source documents get into our platform, the data is extracted and the documents are filed. And then further downstream, if it is a payable and something pertaining to the payables processing and bank reconciliation, we can create that transaction in Xero, as well as QuickBooks Online, have the source document attached for one-click reconciliation and audit proofing. So with that, I'm just going to swing into a bit of a brief product run through. Just make sure everyone can see my screen, which looks like they can. Fingers crossed for no more technical issues from me. But first and foremost, what we're looking at here, everyone, is just a Hubdoc dashboard. This will be one of your clients' Hubdoc files. Now, as you can see, obvious or not, Hubdoc is at our core a cloud-based automated filing cabinet, right? We, on a very simple basis, are a bit like a Dropbox or a Google Drive in that you can store a host of different financial documents on our solution. Now, as we swing from right to left here, we see these folder structures. This document stream changes depending on the folder structure. In the middle, you have a full view of a document, so very easy to see and work on. And then on the right-hand side of any of these documents is, the configuration capabilities of documents to downstream cloud storage or accounting platforms. Now, where we begin this brief product demonstration of Hubdoc is in the Add Account section, because this is one of the key pieces of getting immediate access to your client's key financial documents, right? In a world where you're getting real-time access to line items on your client's bank feeds in Xero, why not get real-time access to your client's bank and credit card statements, to their telco, utility bills? To other suppliers. We have a host of other suppliers, and we'll get into the list here in a moment here. But instead of relying on the client to perhaps send you information, let Hubdoc do some of that heavy lifting for you and get you that information. We'll start with a bank account, just because we do know that it is extremely valuable. And once I input my client number and password securely encrypted on our platform, we're actually going to set up our own proprietary feed on Hubdoc that we've built, maintained, and continue to service. And what that does is it sets up a historical fetch that goes back and historically gathers all the bank, credit card, mortgage, and loan statements from the bank's portal. So, not only from an ongoing up-to-date perspective, but let's say you onboard a new client and their books are in disarray. Maybe they haven't even done any bank rec for the last year or two, which I know I've heard many times, just kind of horror stories like this. Being able to get these type of documents is extremely valuable in, accurately doing that work. What we also do for many of our connections, as I swing into our list here, is just get you a CSV file. So we get you a monthly transactional summary for the last financial years for many of our banking connections. So not only is that going to help you from a historical reconciliation standpoint, but clearly it's going to help you on a going forward basis, given that some bank feeds aren't available. Given a situation where some bank feeds aren't just very good, and they can duplicate transactions and they can fall out. And so we just give you that ability to be a little more agile and just remove an administrative conversation between you and your client. Now, as I scroll down here, in terms of getting up-to-date and accurate data, you can start getting a sense of different client verticals that Hubdoc can be of service to. Now, I think we've been talking about setting up this, these foundational processes and getting up-to-date and accurate data, right? Well, a source document is sort of the foundation of accurate data, right? It is the document that is confirming a line item on the bank feed is up-to-date and accurate. It confirms the GST amount. It confirms, what account code it should be allotted to. It's going to confirm a lot of things, beyond any details your client might need to give you. But it's really, your security blanket in case of an audit as well. But as we scroll down here, we'll grab invoices and statements from agricultural portals, tolls and vehicle registration invoices. If you're chasing up your client for GST on their car regos, we can pull that for you. If you have tradies that you're chasing up for their Bunnings invoices or statements, we'll do that for you. So it's really immediate data pipe in, right? Immediate access to client source documents. Coming into our telco and utility connections, which certainly any business under the sun can use. And then a long, laundry list of software vendor connections. We are a software company, so perhaps selfishly we wanted to automate some of our own personal document collection. So let's just give you a sense of what we can pull from. Really, the idea behind any of these connections is in not only the immediate collection and collation of documents, which is great, but the immediate collection and collation of this transactional type document from Telstra, like an actual bill, clearly we're extracting data from this. And this is a line item on my bank feed. So we can allow you quite efficiently and agilely to code and create, for instance, this Telstra bill as a transaction on the bank feed, right? And so for me, what used to be a month-end or quarter-end activity of catching up and pushing, coding, and creating transactions in an accounting platform, I'm maybe doing this manually. I mean, I started work in a day and age where I actually didn't have solutions like this, and I was doing a lot of manual things and helping my accountant kind of settle up my books. I spend, 10 to 15 minutes maximum every week just processing through transactions, depending on the volume of that week, if we're kind of on the road, etc. And what that allows me to do is not only push code and create transactions very efficiently with the source documents attached, but the really nice thing is that for me, when I push through from Hubdoc, I refresh my bank feed in Xero, and everything's just matching right away. And so the idea of, any week or any couple weeks, I can just tell that my books from a payable standpoint are up to date, right? My expenditures for that month are exactly where they should be based on the day of the week that I just spend, a couple minutes in Hubdoc processing new transactions and clicking OK to reconcile them in Xero. So that's the idea of that, immediate access to data from the collection standpoint, as well as the up-to-date books from a processing standpoint. Now, many of you on this call probably might have had some experience with our solution already. Obviously, there is a manual side of Hubdoc I'll touch on very briefly here. We do have a mobile application. You can email documents into Hubdoc. You can also upload directly from your computer. So basically, as you're probably guessing, we can extract data from manually uploaded documents from a mobile application, from any of these solutions. And just as I showed you with the Telstra functionality, I come into Hubdoc, I see documents that have been extracted and are in review. This little blue clock is just telling us that Hubdoc is working on them, but in the next few seconds, they should be extracted. And what I do is have a very quick review process where I spend time in the review tab as these have been extracted. If it's something like an Office Works document that I know I've pre-configured basic supplier rules for, I don't need to toggle any tracking classes onto this document. I don't need to change the account code because I know Office Works is always going to be an Office expense of some sort. I can just click publish and proceed to publish that document and move on to the next document. Now, for something like Regional Express, I've been asked to track department level travel spend. And so for this circumstance, this review area allows me to quite agilely just say, great, well, this was travel related to a marketing trip that we did. And so I can very easily and agilely toggle on that tracking class and or account code if that needs to be changed and click publish. And then when it arrives in Xero, I'm generally pushing through account transactions or authorized bills. Just authorized for that matter, just because I'm reviewing in Hubdoc, I want it to appear directly against my bank feed in Xero. Just so I can be agile and not double up any work that I'm trying to do. Now, the final realm of this is from, you have up-to-date and accurate books and data, but what happens if there's an audit, or what happens if last quarter of documents need to be reviewed? Well, amazing, we have our folder structure here. We have advanced search that allows us to check in on this quarter of documents and do a search on that. And so, if I wasn't in my Commonwealth Bank folder there. So it does allow you, once again, the agile access, fingertip access to key financial documents, and certainly more of an automated and streamlined ongoing processing perspective that allows you to have, this kind of lead data as opposed to lag data. You're no longer focusing on a bit of a rear view mirror approach to your client's books. Amazing. So that kind of brings the Hubdoc portion to a close. I am going to let Stu take over here, and he's going to be running through Futrli and what it has to offer. I'm really looking forward to this.
Amazing, thanks, Matt. And I think just kind of concluding what you're saying there, it's the automation, it's capturing of the data, so that your Xero, your accounting data is enriched, it's more automated. There's less time spent actually just dotting the I's and crossing the T's, which is where then Futrli would give you greater flexibility and customization to really amplify the education and the visibility you can give your clients over and above the traditional kind of tax and compliance documents, financial statements, which we all know and love like the back of our hands. Now, for the benefit of everybody who hasn't seen Futrli or heard of us before, we are a fully integrated forecasting and reporting engine, and we use as best or as close to real-time data, which allows you and your clients the ability to make decisions as quickly as possible. Now, as I was saying before, traditional accounting methods, traditional functionality within the accounting software, it doesn't offer a lot of flexibility when you want to, change the conversation, start to look at things a little bit deeper, perhaps industry-specific metrics or non-financial data sets. And that's where Futrli and I guess the way that the engine has been designed is really going to help you pivot, flex those numbers, start to talk to your clients with visibility, show them where there's peaks or troughs or risk or opportunity within their business, because it's going to give them a greater level of understanding, because they're not experts in finance, they don't come from financial backgrounds, and they're often can get confused and a bit overwhelmed with a big block or wall of numbers, which is what traditional accounting methods have always been. Now, for the last 20 years, the conversation around accounting and the change in relationships, Matt, you can click over now as well. All good. For the last 20 years, there's been conversations and movements about the change in relationships between accountants and business owners, and I think Futrli was born off the back of that mindset. In that our CEO, she using Xero, often reacting to data. At the time, she hadn't got her her document and bookkeeping process done in an efficient way, and she was often reacting when it was too late for her to actually avoid those pitfalls or those those risk factors which most businesses inevitably will face from time to time. But the knowledge and understanding of small business owners now around the world is far greater than it ever has been before. Their knowledge of technology, because we all run our lives off mobile phones these days, so most people nowadays are familiar that there's automation, there's technology, helping various industries and processes around the world that we all do from day to day. And that's kind of now what they're seeking. They're seeking a more proactive relationship with their accountants. They want better access to data, they want cleaner data, they want education, and we're starting to see more and more business owners asking for information or insights of advisory beyond the norm, beyond the financial metrics. And this is, I guess, why Hannah built Futrli in the first place, to provide a solution to the business owners around the world or the accountants, so that you can start to communicate to your clients in a way which they are actually now expecting. Now, the beauty of the industry that we work in is that technology is automating the bookkeeping side of things, cue Hubdoc. But with that information, with that automation, that process improvement, this means for the accountants, the bookkeepers, the VCFOs in the world, you have access to cleaner data. It's more accurate, therefore you can rely on it a lot more than perhaps, the circumstances where there isn't a Hubdoc in place and your clients are doing their bookkeeping. I imagine most of you spend your time actually just double checking that, the coding that has been done within the accounting data is actually correct before you start to use that to give your clients any advice or any direction in their business. So actually accepting that technology is here, using it, acknowledging that, what's the best fit, how can you automate your process, how can you set that foundation so that when you do talk to your clients about the information that what you want to discuss with them, you can rely on the data, and the decisions that you are helping your clients make are actually going to be the right first time of asking. Now, the platform itself can mean it has lots of functionality, and I think advisory services can mean different things to different people, as we briefly discussed before, which is why Futrli is a fully integrated platform which has all of the functionality you could possibly ever need. Now that would mean maybe a basic budget for your clients. It might just be some better visualization from a dashboard, which seems to be, the way that business owners are wanting access to that data now in a more convenient space, such as mobile phones or iPads. It could even be a really complex business plan where you're helping your clients, gear up to the point where they're looking to maybe attract, someone to come and buy them so they can cash out and retire. You have all of that functionality within the platform of Futrli, and it will continually be developed. And we welcome feedback from all of our existing partners, especially if there's functionality in there which you haven't quite seen or found and you would like some more. So we cover off pretty much all of that kind of advisory, bucket, which could include any one of the things you see on screen. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump into Futrli just to kind of walk you through, I guess, some really high-level ways that the data can flow into Futrli, and just to give you all a bit of a glimpse as to how the platform actually will work. Now, firstly, you would connect the data. The data is connected directly from a Xero, an MYOB account, or a QuickBooks Online file. And once you've kind of synced down that data, you can then do pretty much anything with it. Now, in one space, you've got that full integration. So you've got a dashboarding product, which allows you to communicate and give your client access to that data as often and as conveniently as they need it. You also do have a management reporting functionality as well. And I appreciate of the, everybody joining us today, you are going to have some clients who are tech savvy and they're really owning and using all the available and modern technology. And you are certainly going to have some clients who still would prefer a piece of paper because that's what they have always, accepted and used to help with their financials and understanding. So you have both. We are not expecting everybody to jump into the cloud overnight. You've got an integrated forecasting engine, which is exactly what it says on the tin. It gives you the ability to start to change the conversation with your clients. Now that you've got better information, it's enriched, it's more automatic. Can you spend that saved time in not doing administrative tasks for your client? Can you spend that time talking to your client about what next? You've got other features within Futrli around our alerts, which I will share with you at a high level, which gives you as practitioners that efficiency and the ability to monitor all of your clients in one location. So I'm going to walk you through a couple of those processes today to give you, I guess, a scratch of the surface in terms of what Futrli will give you the ability to do. Once you have got that foundation correct and you've got that automation efficiency working for you and your clients. Now, coming back to the story of Hannah as a business owner, for her, looking at these traditional statements, which you all know and love, and I'm sure you're still, delivering these to your clients, which is perfectly okay. There's nothing wrong with that, but it is an old school method of, communicating to your clients. It's rigid, it is historical focused, and actually now, businesses want that what next. We want you to be able to turn this into firstly, a more engaging conversation, because a wall of numbers isn't that pretty. So Futrli, through our dashboarding, allow you to visualize those KPI trends, those EBIT calculations, the analysis in terms of where your money is being spent, or the cost of sale breakdown, for an example, your performance versus budgets or targets, being able to format that in a nicer way, as well as being able to pretty much produce any set of financial metric, visibility, ratio, trend analysis that you like, in a way which feeds the data in automatically for you, because we are constantly refreshing behind the scenes. Now, what this means is, the reporting or the visibility and education you can provide your clients is a little bit more interesting to look at. It's easier for your clients to understand, but most importantly for you, month on month, you're not required to rebuild, your traditional kind of Excel reports time and time again, because the data is always going to be there for you to access. So what that means is you can pretty much just focus on interpreting the data, helping your clients see where their business had under or overperformed, and help your clients then turn that into, okay, well, how do we avoid that pitfall again next month or next quarter? Or how do we continue this fantastic performance to ensure that, we stay on track for the rest of the year? Now, again, Matt did allude to this before, that not everybody is an expert in all of the industries that your clients sit in. And this is where we have gone over and above for all new partners of Futrli, because we want to make this as seamless as possible. And we also want to make sure that your ability to scale the usage of Futrli can be across every single client that you manage. To that point, we have developed a whole load of industry vertical templates, which for you all, if you have clients who fall into any of these spaces, it just means you can plug and play. You are not required to spend an hour and a half, syncing data into Futrli, mapping reports, up until a point where you can then actually start to talk to your clients. We have a lot of content and support to help you guys from the very beginning. And if you've got a bucket of clients who all sit in retail or hospitality, or you focus on not-for-profits, there is always, or there's most likely going to be a template for you, which you can pretty much just plug and play with your data. So you can start to get the immediate impact to your workflows. And of course, then you can start to change that relationship with your clients in terms of how you start to interpret their numbers. Now, again, the beauty of Futrli is, I guess, in the integration, and the main reason it was built in the first place was for the future, that view to what's going to happen, and not so much the view to the past. And that's where our forecasting or integrated forecasting engine is going to allow you to start to do this for more and more clients. Now, from working with firms of varied shape, form, and size across the globe, the most common objections we get to, adding forecasting or starting to help your clients look forwards generally falls into cost or need. Most small businesses either think that these processes are super expensive, therefore don't want them. They might believe they don't need them because they might have cash in the bank and money coming through the door. Or, it's a case where, for the practitioners in the world who might be looking to add this service to a client, you don't have an efficient way to produce a set of output for your clients without needing to spend a couple of hours in an Excel document, dotting the I's, crossing the T's, working with those businesses. And if your clients aren't asking for it, well then, it's fairly safe to assume that you're not going to go and spend 2 to 3 hours hoping that your client is going to turn around and say, brilliant, thank you, how much do we owe you? And I think that's because traditional methods of forecasting have been very manual and very disconnected. Well, what we've done is we've changed that process for the better for everybody. Now, there's multiple ways you can bring data in, but what I want to focus you all on today is just how most of our existing clients are, once they've got that data enriched environment through accounting, how they then actually start to use automation to show your clients what's going to happen. And again, this is an opportunity for you to start to deliver more advisory style relationships over and above the traditional historical reporting. Now, what I'm going to do is just basically use last year's data. Now, you can make changes if you like. If you want to give your client a high level version of what next, you might say, okay, well, if we can achieve 10% revenue growth, what does that look like? Now, you don't have to make any of those assumptions. Once you hit build, what Futrli will do is it'll extract all of that historical data from your source, 0 as an example, and then it will extrapolate that out, add your P&L actuals to the opening balance sheet, and produce for you a high level version of a profit and loss, a balance sheet, and a cash flow forecast. Now, there's I guess a lot of functionality within the forecasting engine, which I'm not going to go into too much detail on here, but using the automation, getting to a point where you have something to show your clients to talk about their specific future, so it's a really personalized approach. You are then able to use that data back into a report, which will allow you to start a slightly different conversation, which isn't necessarily about the past. So think about that process, about 60 seconds to sync data, produce a forecast. Then we would encourage you to talk to your clients. What's keeping them up at night? What are their ambitions? What are their pain points? Is there any process improvement they'd like to see within the business? Once you've documented and understood their needs, you're able to give them immediate value add by showing them a version of their future based on what happened last year, admittedly, but that is an opportunity for you to start to get beneath the hood. Remove the roadblocks of dollar value of time. If you're able to click a button and do this for every client, Well, that is an opportunity for you to show your client, hey, this is actually what the future of your business looks like. You've just told me that you want to achieve this, this, and this. When can those processes or those opportunities be capitalized? And that is when you're able to turn that into a more structured, paid service where your client has saw the value from the service. They can see what the future of their business looks like at a high level to begin with, and it's a really personalized approach. That is how you would start to transition more and more of your clients using Futrli into that kind of business advisory environment. Now that's it, guys, from a product demo. Matt, if you can bring up the presentation for me again, sir.
Yep.
Perfect. Now, we know that actually, what I've shown you today is very, very high level, but what we've taken very seriously at Futrli is your education. So for everybody who would like to learn Futrli, if everybody, anybody's sitting there thinking, well, I don't necessarily have the skill set, or that looks, it looks like it might take a while. We have basically drawn a line under all of those, those questions, and developed an advisory certification course, which upskills you and your team. It's CPD approved, so there's a small incentive for you guys to do that anyway. But what it is, it's tried and tested. It's hugely efficient for you to not have to write your own training and onboarding manual or script for your teams, and it means that you can consistently move your clients into this kind of more advisory space, as well as giving yourself that investment of re-education. So that would come part and parcel with the Futrli platform to ensure that you guys get the most out of the system.
Amazing. That was super interesting. I now want to use Futrli. Those reports look amazing. So anyways, thanks, Stuart. That's awesome. So just kind of circling back here, setting the foundation of advisory services and embracing automation can obviously help you build stronger client relationships, better, faster insights, and finally, have more time to support your clients and provide valuable, proactive advice. I think that our products together, when you kind of wrap them up, can quite clearly lead to these three outcomes. And in a world where you are thinking proactively about offering advisory services, right, and increasing the types and level of services that you are providing beyond this, bookkeeping, compliance, as lodgements. Clearly our tools, when leveraged correctly, can help you achieve that. So just moving into some offers here. Anyone on this webinar who hasn't, as of yet, created their free Hubdoc partner account, just go to app.hubdoc.com/sign up. You're entitled to a lifetime free account. Use it on your own business. I can almost guarantee that you will see value in it. Have a play with it. See if you like it. If you do, you can actually add clients from that free account. But we do, beyond that free account for your practice, provide dedicated phone and email support that is local, free and unlimited training for your team as well. And over to you, Stu.
Yeah, exactly the same. And again, thank you for everybody for joining us. So, as a goodwill gesture, it's the season, Christmas, etc. We want to encourage anybody who has been looking at Futrli recently, either at one of the expos we've been at, or just following, our blogs and some of the webinars we've done. We know that there's opportunity. We would love for you guys to jump in. So there's some really, really good financial discounts, which certainly do not affect the amount of support and education that we would give you. It's just come on board, let us prove to you, that actually what we're saying does work. We have all of the structure and frameworks in place to support your growth, irrespective of how big or small your firm is and how many staff you have. And we've done this for time and time again. So please do let us know if you're interested. Take advantage of the the financial discount that we're offering, and let us kind of just help you from the very beginning. And before long, you will become so self-sufficient that the financial outlay is going to be very, very outbalanced by the amount of revenue that you should be able to earn as you start to develop those relationships with your clients.
Perfect. So just moving into some questions. I answered a few as we were going, but we actually have 3 or 4 here that I'll moderate now. So first one's for you, Stuart.
Yep.
Eleanor asked, can I have a copy of the business performance board? I don't have it as a standard, and it does look like a good general board. Do you provide these types of templates with Futrli?
Yes, and I actually know Eleanor personally. So hi, Eleanor, thanks for joining us. Anything you need as an existing partner, you can obviously just refer back to your account manager from our side. Apologies if you don't have any of those templates that I've showed you today, but absolutely reach out and we can share with you any templates, any documents, or we can help you build your own if you would like to tweak them slightly. But yeah, certainly just reach out to us, let us know, and we can arrange that, no problem.
Amazing. Second question for you, Stuart. It might be obvious or not, but does Futrli connect with Xero? And can you just touch on like how that works?
Yes, absolutely. So apologies if that wasn't clear during my my high level demo. Yes, we do integrate with Xero. We do also integrate with QuickBooks Online and MYOB. What the connection I didn't show you, essentially all you do is log into your Xero account via the Futrli platform. Which then takes you to your Xero landing page. You would log into your Xero account as normal, and any data that you have access to, you can sync, and then we will download every single transaction from the dawn of time for that ledger. And then on a daily basis, every overnight, automatically, we will fetch the new transactions, which, in coming back to the Hubdoc integration as well, as those documents are being sent into Xero every night, well, then Futrli is taking them on the flip side again automatically, seamlessly behind the scenes. So you really get that enriched data every single day.
Amazing. So question for myself about Hubdoc. How far back do Hubdoc's automated connections fetch documents, and when do they become available? Kind of second part to that question. So we get asked this question a whole lot. It's largely dependent on what's available on the portal. And the reason why I say that is because in our experience, there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of consistency in terms of how far back, telco, utility, portals, even banks will store documents. Some, Commonwealth Bank being a good example, are quite good about historically storing documents. So we can actually go quite far back, others 12 to 18 months. So what I generally suggest is expect the last financial years, and in some cases we go further back than that. Now, when do we fetch them? We fetch them when they're available. Since our connections run on a nightly basis, you actually do get real-time collection and fetching of that data in the form of a source document. So yeah, our connections run nightly. As soon as it's available on that portal, we pull it in to Hubdoc. Another question for you, Stuart. Do clients have access to that Futrli dashboard, or is it for advisors to report back to them and sort of show them?
I guess the beauty of Futrli is both. It depends on your relationship with your clients. If your clients are tech savvy, they are wanting visibility as often as they need it, well, then you can share access to your clients so they can log in. Now, there's no risk of your clients ever seeing data that's not theirs, and you can also restrict what they do within your Futrli account as a practice. But yes, the option for you to give your clients access, which strengthens the relationship, the engagement from their end is going to be far greater. And I imagine, the opportunity to help that client see where there's pitfalls and help them grow would be far greater if they are engaging in that space. Or if you don't want to give them access, you can just use the PDF engine to produce kind of standard management reports as well.
Got it. Some other really great questions for you, Stu. Does Futrli have plans to report for small groups with multi-currency consolidation?
So multi-currency consolidation is my favorite topic of discussion because currently we don't have that ability. Single currency consolidated groups is absolutely fine. Multi-currency consolidation currently is not available, sadly. It will happen eventually. Currently, I can't give you an ETA because I don't know it. But it's certainly a drum that I bang quite loudly, particularly for Australia and New Zealand, because it seems to be more common this side of the world. But yeah, unfortunately not.
Perfect. I guess final question, and then if there's nothing else, we'll wrap things up. Question for you, Stu. Can you merge data from multi-systems, i.e. Xero data, but a CRM with softer parameters, i.e. staff, hourly rates, etc.?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a wizard in Futrli for you to bring in as much other data, non-fin, as you have. So staff hours, website analytics, even inventory stock movements to a certain degree. Yes, absolutely. So that API will become more automatic into 2019, but currently really simple CSV process, and there's no restrictions, I guess, in terms of volume that you can bring in.
Phenomenal. Okay, well, if that's the last of the questions, we just want to say a massive thank you. We can see by the engagement in the question section that many of you got a lot out of the content today. As mentioned a moment ago, take part in our offers. They are great products. We wouldn't be sort of within this core apps of the Zeros ecosystem if we weren't, best of class. So certainly give us a look. And oftentimes it can open up just extreme doors for what your practice can do as you move forward. So again, Stu, thanks so much for joining me. Thanks everyone for joining us today, and look forward to speaking with many of you soon.
Likewise, thank you. Thank you for involvement. Thank you for the engagement and the questions, everybody. It seems like there's a lot of interest there. So please do reach out. As Matt said, there's offers on the table, just as goodwill gestures to help you guys get off the ground and running. So yeah, please do reach out, and we can kind of go from there. And yeah, thank you.
Perfect. See you next day.
Thank you. See you, Matt.
See you, buddy.